John Bunn. When many people think of the legal system, they probably think of justice. But the justice system isn't as straightforward as it ideally should be. Since 1973, at least 340 innocent people have been executed. Wrongful convictions ruin people's lives. John Bunn couldn't hold back tears at his 2014 trial. Since he was 14, he had spent 17 years behind bars for a crime he didn't commit. Afterward, he spent an additional 10 years on parole. As a young teenager, he faced a violent prison experience and could barely read or write. It took over 20 years to convince the court to reevaluate his sentence finally. All of his teenage and young adult years had already been taken. On August 14, 1991, Bunn was sitting in the kitchen with his family in their Brooklyn, New York home. The morning was hot, 90 degrees in the shade, and their AC didn't work. Hip-hop music leaked in from the neighborhood. Bunn, who was on summer break, looked forward to a day of playing basketball with his friends. The police knocked on the door. The 14-year-old boy entered a police car and went to Brooklyn's 77th precinct. He was handcuffed to a pole and interrogated by Detective Scarcella. Kristin Lobato. Kristin Lobato was wrongly convicted of a homeless man's 2001 murder and penis amputation, despite a lack of evidence and a strong alibi. A judge had granted a new trial for Kristin Lobato, who allegedly murdered a homeless man and amputated his penis. The ruling by Judge Stephanie Milley, released, offered a solid chance for Lobato to prove she was finally wrongly convicted of the crime. Moreover, Lobato had been in prison for more than 11 years for the gruesome murder of Duran Bailey, whose beaten down and bloodied body was discovered partially disrobed, and also his mutilated groin, which was wrapped in plastic behind a dumpster just off the city's famed strip. This crime scene was no doubt ripe with evidence, none linking Lobato to the slaying. Police detectives relied on a third-hand rumor to target Kristin, who was a stranger to Bailey, to commit such a crime. Lobato even had a solid alibi that Lobato was at her parents' home. The prosecutors conceded that she was in Panaca for most of that day. However, she still argued that she had been in Las Vegas, who she savagely beat and murdered before hopping in her Pontiac Fiero and also blazing a trail up an unlit two-lane mountainous state highway for home. The defense didn't do much to counter the state's convenient time-of-death evaluation, which is an issue which Lobato raised in an appeal to the Nevada Supreme Court. Lobato argued that her lawyers should have known as a forensic pathologist or even an entomologist to narrow Bailey's time of death. Their failure to do so gave their counsel constitutionally deficient. Also in support of her position, Kristin included affidavits from several bug scientists who had strongly challenged Sims' estimation. Then the Supreme Court ruled unanimously that a lower court should fully vet her claim. The court concluded that Lobato's alibi evidence was strong, so if her scientific evidence were credible, it would undoubtedly cause a jury to doubt her guilt, they reasoned. Daniel Villegas. Daniel Villegas was just your average high school student living in El Paso right before he was convicted wrongfully of a double murder. It cost Villegas 25 years of his life and youth full of hardships before his long nightmare ended. Villegas finally got justice in October 2018 when an El Paso jury found him not guilty of the capital murder he was accused of. But Villegas says he still lives with challenges from the case 3 years later. He gave an emotional account of his life before being acquitted. Villegas became a victim of the fear which swept an entire community after the occupants of a car opened fire on 4 teenagers walking home from a party in El Paso, Texas in 1993. While 2 of the boys ran and had escaped and 2 were shot dead, the police found no DNA or forensic evidence connecting any individual to the crime. During Villegas' first trial in 1994, his friends told their statements against him. Also, a forensic psychiatrist testified that the young man had emotional problems and also possible mild mental retardation, and the trial had ended in a hung jury. Villegas was convicted and sentenced to life in prison in a second trial. Then, his 1997 appeal was rejected by the 8th Court of Appeals. Villegas finally won his freedom after being found not guilty in his third trial in 2018. Before the trial began, Villegas had rejected an Alford plea deal offered to him by the El Paso Attorney's Office, a deal that would have allowed him to maintain his innocence while pleading guilty to get time served and stay out of prison. Villegas collapsed in tears as the 409th District Court Judge Sam Medrano read the not guilty verdict. What are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments section down below. If you found today's video interesting, then be sure to leave us a thumbs up, and do not forget to subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon to be always up to date with the most exciting content as soon as it is uploaded. Thanks for watching. See you again soon in another video.